You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marchegiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome back to Beyond Wellness Radio. I have a good friend and awesome physician here, Dr. Tom Bilella. And Tom likes to drop what are called Bilella-isms. Say that 10 times fast. Lots of brain candy will be dropped throughout the show. Sugar-free, though. Sweetened with stevia. How we doing, Tom?
I love it, man. Again, great opportunity to be with you. Haven't seen you in a while from our Success Summit. We had a great time around some great minds in functional medicine. So thanks for the opportunity. Loving this.
I'm just waiting for the knowledge bombs to be dropped, baby.
Well, now's a little pressure, but that's fine, man. So I'm sitting here in Red Bank, New Jersey. Just snowed, but it's cleaned up. I'm feeling good. It's Motivational Monday, and we're ready.
Awesome. Well, why don't you just walk me through just kind of your biggest, it's only Monday here. Why don't we go through last week? What was your biggest clinical success last week with a patient?
Yeah, I tell you right now, call him Big Al. Big Al is from New York. Now he relocated to New Jersey here. But Big Al's a 60-year-old Italian guy, diabetic for 15 years, the belly fat, the whole 9 yards. His son was a Success client. He finally got his dad to commit to come in. Hemoglobin A1C, on medication, about 8.5.
Oh my God.
Triglycerides through the roof. Woo. I'm not going to bore you with all his, blood chemistry. You know what I'm talking about. Yep. And this guy was fatigued. He had 14-hour days because he commuted to his business in New York, etc. Long story short, 8 weeks later, he's down 22.5 pounds of fat and his blood work improved tremendously. His hemoglobin A1C went from like 8.5 to 6.8. But here's the story.
Yeah.
He went back to his medical doctor about a week and a half ago, waited an hour and a half to see the doctor. Doctor comes in, puts him on the scale, loses 22 pounds. And he tells the doctor, he says, listen, I've been seeing a clinical nutritionist. You know what the medical doctor said to him?
What?
Well, if you're seeing a nutritionist, you should have lost a lot more body fat than that.
Oh my God.
Condescending, non-supportive, and Al was blown away. And Al made up his mind at that point, he's not coming back. He then told me the whole story. We looked at his blood work. The point is, Dr. Justin, is that great success story. His medications are cut in half. We've changed his life. We're probably saving his life, and did not get the support from his medical doctor. I got a video on that that'll blow your mind. So that was my biggest success story of last week. Diabetes, it's out of control. This drives me crazy.
And the conventional medical doctors this day and age, they're really not equipped on the diet and lifestyle and nutritional and supplement changes that have to be made to get their patients to the next level. Just in a case in point, a few years ago, I had a patient who went to their cardiologist and said, hey, I'm thinking about making these diet changes to the kind of this paleo, lower carb type of diet, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think? And the cardiologist he was seeing for about 5 years. And the cardiologist turned to him and said, well, you know what? That's exactly how I eat. But personally, legally, I can't tell you that because I'm bound by the American Board of Cardiology, and that's not quite what our board allows us to say. So a lot of these doctors, they're hamstrung, especially if they work in a hospital setting. So it's tough. People like us, we're like, we're how should you say it? We're we got no ball and chain on our legs, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we can go out there and just call it like we see it and give the information.
Exactly right. And thank goodness there's more people like you and I, and you're doing your podcast, getting people inspired and doctors inspired to do more functional medicine so we can make these type of changes, because you know what? It ain't going to happen in the White House. It's going to happen in your house.
Love it.
And I'm all about inspiring other doctors, functional medicine doctors or chiropractors, whomever, to start doing more functional nutrition, functional medicine, so we can support people at a different level, because this healthcare system is broken, it's backwards, people are suffering, and they're ticked off.
Exactly. And you really talked about getting people kind of ending the drug era. I know it's like 20% of fifth graders are on some type of ADD, ADHD medication, and you really talked about getting people off the lifestyle drugs, but not just pulling them off, but fixing the root underlying cause of why they're on it to begin with. Let's talk more about that.
Well, I'd have to explain the premise of functional medicine is getting to the roots, not trying to glue the leaves back on the trees when they fall off, like, looking for a medication, looking for more glue to glue it back on the tree branch. Hello, you go to the roots. So I've been doing this for 28 years now. I've seen thousands of patients. And if we're going to end the drug era in our lifetime, it's going to take a collective effort, and it's happening. But here's a story. The drug era started in 1983 when this country or someone allowed pharmaceutical companies to advertise on TV. That's when the drug era started. You can trace it back to then. America's 4% of the world's population consuming up to 54% of the medications, the majority of which are lifestyle-induced medications. It's an outrage.
Only 2 countries, I think, us and Australia.
Yeah, I think it's right. Australia or New Zealand,
yeah,
exactly, are allowed to advertise. Now, let's take it a step further. So now you're a 9-year-old kid or 11-year-old kid, you're watching these commercials, you're even 4 years old, and you see this lady with a pounding headache. She goes to her medicine cabinet, pops 2 pills, 8 seconds later, she's on the tennis court with her husband enjoying a nice tea. So then this poor kid gets to high school, 14 years old, having some stress and some difficulties, and remembers back in the brain, probably subconscious, that pills are the answer. And you wonder why we have all these young people on drugs and medications. So it's a real problem, Dr. Justin.
It is. It totally is. And you know what? I always tell patients, drugs don't have side effects. They have effects. And again, what are these drugs doing? They're typically blocking enzyme or reuptake ports in the biochemistry. So the difference is when we're doing nutrition and diet and lifestyle and functional medicine interventions, we're about upregulating and enhancing the physiology, where a lot of these medications are about downregulating and suppressing. But in the short term, that may be okay if someone has an acute issue, but then what are we going to do to transition them off? The conventional medical system has no path for that. There's no conveyor belt that puts them on to functional medicine. So can you talk more about the things that you're doing to get to the root cause with some of these common medications?
Sure. Yeah, well, it starts for me. It starts with good paperwork, thorough paperwork, coming in for a comprehensive consultation and lifestyle analysis. Of course, we do a body comp analysis here, and I do a nutrition exam. Checking hair, skin, nails, checking things you got to check, palpating a thyroid, okay? Looking into nail beds, all right? Looking at postural faults. So you get the picture. And then I use functional chemistry. I'm running a full thyroid panel on everyone, and I'm screening for antibodies. I'm doing free T3, reverse T3. I'm looking at, of course, homocysteine, C-reactive protein. We're looking at hormonal levels on men and women. So it starts to me with functional chemistry. I'm a big advocate of food sensitivity testing. About 80% of my patients choose to get it. I explain it becomes like a nutritional pilot light to reduce the inflammatory effect of certain foods. It could be a good food, Justin, but not good for this particular person. And I'm a big advocate of vitamin mineral analysis, typically through SpectraCell or maybe even organic acid testing. So if you're not testing, you're guessing. All right. And I explain this to my patients, and I do it in such a way where they totally get it. So it starts with the labs. They come back for their second visit. We talk about what's most pertinent. And there's 3 phases of my program. I call it the education phase. They always leave the first visit with some homework and some reading. And the education diagnostic phase, I should say, get the diagnostics. They come in for their second visit. And then we typically launch with a cleanse phase. And I just say, think of the word clean. It's not like a cleanse you're fasting. We're going to get the good foods in, rid out the bad foods, take care of these nutritional potholes that you have with all these vitamin mineral deficiencies, do that for 2 to 3 weeks, and then talk about what's called their transformation phase, continue to work on the imbalances in their chemistry. So we have really good results here, really good compliance, because how we educate our patient visit to visit.
I love it. I love it. And it's really interesting because I work with lots of patients as well. And the big thing that I hear over and over again is I've never had a doctor spend that much time with me. I never had a doctor roll up their sleeves and dig in deep and look at like the nail beds, let's look at protein and fat soluble vitamins. Let's look at the skin. Let's look at the hair. Let's dig in and try to connect the dots to the outer exterior to what's going on in the physiology. And I love because we operate outside of that insurance model where we don't have that ball and chain holding us back again, just like on the nutrition side too.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm proud of is I also have a nice team here. And I have 4 health coaches that are working with me, not all at the same time. I'm always working with my health coach who's helping me educate these patients. Allows me to see up to 4 people an hour after their first and second workup, and they're getting a 30 minutes worth of service, 15 minutes with me. I tell my clients, I'm the why, she's the how. I'm the good cop, she's the bad cop. Yeah. But we work together to get you to your goals. And it's a really good system I created here where you can help a lot of people be profitable, but our patients are getting an end result, which is educating them.
I love it. And, it's interesting because I'm around a lot of healthy people and their kids still not eat so well, so to speak, and you kind of tiptoe around it. You showed me a video last year of your daughter who was like a little YouTube celebrity talking about sugar, and I think you were offering her sugar, and she kind of went off in this little speech educating you on why that's not good. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
We'll post the video in the notes too. That's a good one.
So Sophia Bilella, she's now 9. I'm really proud of her. She does it ad lib, and I've been teaching her since she's a young girl. Proper diet, not being, not too crazy. But between the ages of 1 and 2, Justin, I made it a point not to give her any sugar because I once read that that's when a young person's palate is forming.
Huge.
And if you can keep the sugar out of their body from ages 1 to 2, they're not going to create this sugar, I hate to say almost addiction or need. Yep. So we did that. Okay. And now she's allowed maybe one little treat a day, but it has to be a good treat. But the point is that in school, in the 2nd grade, she won the contest where she had to count how many Smarties were in the jar.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like 100. So the prize that the 2nd grade teacher gave out, she got 100 Smarties. She brought them home. I come home, I see 100 Smarties in a bag. I'm like, oh, baby. So my Sophia knows the kind of, she doesn't hide anything. She's got great confront. And I said, Sophia, we got to do a video. And part of the video, which you'll see, is that she's ticked off and she tells me because there's red dye in there, okay, it causes childhood obesity. She tells, and she was 8 at the time, all right? And there's been other considerations. Her 1st grade teacher was giving out little marshmallows for math assignments. And my daughter told me this. I had to write a letter or an email to the 1st grade teacher. But Sophia Bilella, little kid natural here, so to speak, is on the same page. She's educating, and she's totally into it. It's not an act.
Exactly. I think the big thing is, too, when you get yourself healthy, you can't help but create that ripple effect that helps your spouse, your family members, and your kids as well, which is great.
And it's got this next generation, it's really important that we disseminate this information because last glance, like a 4th grader, 55% of their calories is in the form of sugar. And there's a gross protein deficiency, a gross vitamin D deficiency, gross essential fatty acid deficiency in our culture with young people. And what drives me insane is when the parent says, well, my pediatrician said, don't really need them. You can take a multivitamin or a Flintstone. I'm like, were you checking the kid's vitamin D? No. It's an outrage. Pediatricians, by and large, are still telling the parent, we are the wealthiest nation on earth and we have the best diet. Don't worry about it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's terrible. We have an excess of calories, but the problem is a lot of calories aren't attached to nutrition these days. You can get a ton of calories with virtually zero nutrition. People forget that when you give your body a whole bunch of sugar, it has to run it through glycolysis in the Krebs cycle, and it actually takes nutrients to metabolize sugar. So you can actually go into nutrient debt. It's like using your credit card when you don't have enough money in the bank to pay for the bill. It's the same thing when you do all this extra sugar, as you know.
Yeah. And then let's talk about nutrient debt. And then like a young woman who then starts menstruating, 6 months later, she's totally iron deficient. She's depressed and fatigued. And unfortunately, conventional medicines do one of two things: birth control pill and or an anti-psych drug.
That's it.
I mean, this is what's happening out there, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not saying you never need a birth control pill or anti-psych drugs don't have their place, but that should not be first line of therapy when you have a 14-year-old girl who's tired, fatigued, and depressed. Let's check her nutrition.
And I guarantee, I know I've saw the stat of 20% of fifth graders are on some type of like ADD, Adderall, Ritalin, etc. I believe firmly, if you look at the research, this starts with the sugar and the inflammation. If you get up the nutrient density and you drive down the sugar and the inflammatory foods, these kids' brain chemistries are going to be so much better, and they'll be able to focus better in the classroom too.
Yeah. And what I do as a clinician when a parent comes in is we have something called the Healthy Kids Club. And of course, Sophia Bilella is president of the Healthy Kids Club. But I have a really easy 2-page sheet. It's actually 1 page that I give to the parent. It'll say, child's name, weight, height, any medications, how many proteins a day, how many fruits and vegetables a day, how many rounds of antibiotics, and are they currently taking probiotics? They bring it back to me. I say, listen, your most important job as a parent is make sure your child is developed well. That doesn't mean another karate class or another soccer tournament. I don't say that. Sometimes I do. I'm like, listen, fundamental. Let's get your child. Here's what I'm recommending: a multivitamin, probably some extra vitamin D, certainly a fish oil, and periodic probiotics. If we can if every parent understood that you just work with the fundamentals. And I do believe in nutrition shakes. My daughter, since she's 2 years old, has been on a nutrition shake 1 to 2 a day over the last 7 years. My daughter's 9 years old. I don't want to brag, but she's like a beast. She's so strong. She's so solid. She's smart. And I'm telling you, nutrition is a big part of that.
I agree. I'm a big fan of the shakes too because one, if you're in a rush in the morning, you can have those things pre-made in a shaker cup ready to go. You walk out the door and you shake it, you're good to go. You can make it taste sweeter with a little bit of stevia and some berries, so you pack the nutrition, but you keep the sugar low, and you can sneak in some veggies and some high-quality amino acids. And a lot of people got low hydrochloric acid, so it makes it very absorbable.
Yeah, exactly. And with my daughter, I negotiate too, man. She loves her gluten-free pancakes in the morning and gluten-free French toast. So the deal I have with my wife and my daughter, as long as you're getting some organic fruit with that and your nutrition shake, I'm cool. Okay. She loves the organic maple syrup on her pancakes. It used to drive me crazy. I said, listen, you get some fruit with that and your shake, that's a good way to start the day.
Yeah, I agree. And how are you looking at your patients and examining, outside of the lab testing, the essential fatty acid and the protein deficiencies?
Good. So with the essential fatty acids, I am doing a red blood cell membrane essential fatty acid test, okay? And most everyone comes back less than 5.5% of their red blood cell membrane deficient EPA, DH, DPA. All right, so I'm using that test. I forgot to mention that. So then I can look at vitamin minerals in fish oils, et cetera. And as far as from a protein standpoint, I'm using InBody. I'm doing a body composition test on every single person. I'm looking at their lean body mass, and I'm using that number as a kind of reference or barometer of how much protein I believe they need for their dietary protein. Okay. And of course, questionnaires and other considerations will clue me in, including blood work, if they have the digestive capacity, i.e. hydrochloric acid, to digest this. But I got to teach them mindful eating. Chew your food, not a lot of liquid when you're eating your solids. So it comes back to the fundamentals, man. Chewing your food. Even my daughter, 9 years old, I go, you have to chew your food 9 times before you swallow. When you hit 10, it's going to be 10 times. There's a little reference there. But back to your question, teaching them what they need to do and getting very specific without overwhelming them and going, here's your body composition analysis. Mrs. Jones, your 100 pounds of lean body mass. We want 80 to 100 grams of protein per day, but we're going to pulse that through the day. And then I'll say something like, remember 3 by 3, 5 by 9. They go, what are you talking about, Dr. Tom? And I show my little PowerPoint. By 3 p.m., you better have 3 feedings. And by 9 p.m., you better have 5 feedings. It's not diet and exercise. It's eating and training.
Love it.
Teaching you to feed your body through the day. And if you need 80 grams of protein, I might say, hey, up to 15 to 20 grams of protein 4 or 5 times a day.
I love it. Very good. And, one of the old adages I learned from Paul Chek, he always said, if you're a health advocate, a physician, you should be able to go deliver your health talks in a thong, so to speak, and kind of be able to expose yourself and show, hey, this is the product of my health advice. One of the things I appreciate, you've been in this business for a long time, 30 plus years. You were a bodybuilder as well. You did it the healthy way. And even in your 50s, which you look 15 years, younger than what you do, easy, you're still walking the talk, talking the walk, so to speak. And I'm just curious, can you just walk through some of the listeners, some of the simple things you're doing to stay healthy, to stay ripped and lean?
Yeah. So thanks, Justin. I wouldn't say I'm ripped anymore. I'm about 16% body fat. Back in 1995, I did a natural bodybuilding show, and I've been, I graduated chiropractic school in 1988. But what I do is, I try to eat super clean Monday through Saturday, and I can't really tolerate the amount of carbohydrates I used to. I'm still working
Yeah.
out 4 to 5 times a week, but it's only for 30 minutes. I'm a big advocate of burst training.
Yep.
And sometimes even a 1-minute workout where I'm warming up, but then I'm just doing 1 minute on a stationary bike, which is 2 minutes, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, 20 seconds, the 1 minute being the intensity component. So I work out 4 to 5 days a week, 30 minutes at a clip. I get each body part once a week. I'm all about muscle preservation now. All right. But during the course of the week, I'm eating clean, up to 2 shakes a day. And I'm usually keeping my carbs pretty low now, like under 80 to 100 grams, where years ago I could do 300 grams.
Right.
And I'm also relying on oftentimes some exogenous ketones, some keto OS through the day, usually twice a day, to really help with that dual fuel, using ketones as a fuel. Ketones are a 4-carbon fatty acid that can be, it's a fantastic fuel. So I'm doing that. And on Sunday, quite frankly, I give myself a little wiggle room. All right. Yeah. And when I'm really, really, really good, which is most of the time I'm gluten or grain free.
Yep.
There are occasions where I will have a non-gluten bagel, this and that. On a very rare occasions, Justin, I'm going to tell you, sometimes gluten sneaks in. Oh my goodness, it's not a felony, folks. Okay. But listen, we all know that grain-free is the way to be. And of course, wheat, gluten is not your friend in this country. So that's what I do, man. 6 days a week. And, with my patients, I give them a Pearl. Because another problem patients have is the whole alcohol thing. Because alcohol is sugar. Maybe you can do 1 or 2 drinks a night or a couple a week. I like the exercise alcohol rule. Never have more alcoholic beverages a week than exercise sessions. So these are little pearls that I, disseminate, explain to my patients. But me personally, I try to stay clean 90% of the time.
Love it. Now, with your carbohydrates, what does that look like? Because typically veggies will get you, if you're doing like a veggie or 2 at each meal, you'll be maybe around 20 or 30 grams of carbs, especially if you minus the net fiber in there. How'd that look for you? What do your carbs look like?
Yeah, I pretty much go low carb all through the day. I'm doing my veggies. And at night, I'll oftentimes get a starch. Potato, sweet potato, okay? Because I sometimes just feel a lot better with that starch at night with my veggies and my protein. I think it helps my serotonin levels. I think it really helps my cortisol curve, you see? So oftentimes if I do my starch, I'll do it at dinner. A lot of people think you should do it at breakfast, and if that works for you, fine. But I like my protein and my fats through the day. And at night I'll do a carb. Now, quite frankly, if I do a body composition analysis, or I'm going to be speaking or going somewhere and I want to get a little bit leaner, I might even reduce my carbs further. But as a general rule, I like to get my clean carbohydrate at dinner, and I like to eat my protein first. I like to eat my protein food first, then have my carbohydrate to blunt that insulin spike.
I 100% agree. A lot of research on carb backloading. We're a little more insulin sensitive at night. We have more cortisol in the morning, mobilizing sugar, so we don't need the extra carbohydrate converting the sugar in the AM. Done studies on firefighters. They took the carbohydrate portion, spread it out evenly for one group, took the other group, had it all at night, and they were already obese to begin with, and the other group lost the most weight. Same calories.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you ever watch Seinfeld? Remember George, the day he did everything opposite his impulses? Sometimes it's the opposite, instead of, do carbs at night. If you remember Seinfeld, George did the opposite impulse. He told George Steinbrenner off. He got the job. He was at the diner. He went right up to the girl and he said, I'm unemployed and I live at home, and he got a date with the girl. So the point is that in nutritional medicine, be open-minded, because I would have never said that 5 or 10 years ago. I'd been like, no, you got to get protein and veggie at night and go to sleep. Not everybody. And especially if there's an HPA axis dysfunction. Yeah. Oftentimes that carbohydrate night is crucial.
Right. And same thing in the real world. If you're getting conventional medical or nutritional information, right, eat 11 servings of grains a day. Do the opposite. You're better. High cholesterol is going to cause all these problems. Do the opposite. Eating eggs is going to cause problems. Do the opposite, right? Bacon, do the opposite.
Yeah. Someone once said this better than me: the masses are asses. Now, I hate to say that, but if you're doing what everyone else is doing, it might be a problem there. But the point is, be open-minded. And I like what Jay Tita once said on a podcast. He's a naturopath.
Yeah.
The perfect diet is never found; it's created. So I tell my clients, be open-minded. We're going to work together to find out what's best for you calorically and macronutriently. And are we going to maybe use ketones? A ketogenic diet, or maybe use some exogenous ketones in your program. So I'm very open-minded. I certainly have some some backbone things or some rudimentary things, but everybody's different.
I love it. I love it. That's really good. Now, what's your take on skipping breakfast in the morning?
Yeah. So, intermittent fasting, when it was first introduced, I think John Berardi talked about it years ago. I was
Yep.
like dead set against it because I came
Yeah.
from the old bodybuilding school, like, oh, you got to eat within 1 hour of waking up and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then, people do have HPA axis dysfunction. You got to be careful, because you can't stabilize your sugar if you have low cortisol because you're, phase 3, you got to be really careful. Yeah. But some people do well with it. But I will say this too. I also will see people come to see me, a lot of CrossFitters who are into their health and fitness. They start getting fatigued or they start getting performance deficits. Then they come see me. I run the blood work and it's atrocious. I mean, reverse T3 is high, their thyroid's down, their testosterone levels are down, their C-reactive protein levels are up, they're overstressed, they're training too intense and not eating, and they're going too long between meals. These people then need to start eating and like oftentimes start training less.
Yes.
If I recommend, missing breakfast, maybe using some ketones in the morning.
Yep.
Or coconut oil, okay?
Yep.
But I'm
MCT.
having good success using some ketones in the morning. I think there's something too with 12 or 16 intermittent fasting, especially those with insulin resistance. If you've got a guy at 30% body fat and his insulin levels are really high, you got to get them down.
Yeah.
So if you can get him to go 12, 14, 16 hours without eating in the beginning, you're going to see good changes physiologically.
I appreciate that. I think it's important to talk to clinicians about these things because we're not into jamming a square peg in a circle hole. We're about giving the right information for the right patient, and we know different things work at different times. You got a lot of people online where intermittent fasting work for them. Therefore, it's something that everyone has to do without any exceptions or, metabolic specifics. Well, if you have this issue or adrenal or female hormones. So I like how you add the clinical aspect to it and you really tailor it. I think it's important.
Yeah, and I have some clients who actually need 25% of their calories at breakfast. I have the opposite. People have a hard time keeping what's called their HEC in check, hunger, energy, cravings.
Love it.
Okay. So if their HEC is not in check, I may then have to say, listen, I want you getting 500 to 600 calories at breakfast with a good macronutrient breakdown. And like, Dr. Tom, I felt so much better all day long.
Oh, I agree. And I think you kind of alluded to Sunday being your cheat day. I think once you get really healthy, you can play around with and cheat a little bit. Like you see guys in the major leagues with this crazy swing and this and that. Well, they had to get the fundamentals down first. Once you get the fundamentals, you can always cheat and kind of, ad lib, if you will.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And what I like to do, though, and I think people should try this, every year, I got this from my friend Sean Phillips. I try to get in the best shape of my life at that time frame. So I usually start mid-March and go to Memorial Day. And I got a good buddy of mine, and every year we do a physique transformation challenge. And we get a couple of my buddies to do it. We do body comps, we do before pictures, and we do a 10-week program. So for those 10 weeks, I don't have a cheat meal on Sunday. I'm trying to go from maybe 17% body fat down to 12, 13% body fat. So once a year, I try to get in really good shape for me. And then through the rest of the year, I give myself some wiggle room.
Got it. And when you're doing that, are you counting calories at all or more focused on the carbs?
Good question, man. In the beginning, I keep a food journal, which I recommend all my clients do in the beginning. Yep. In the beginning, I usually am. Until I start to get like instinctual going, okay, then I do my weekly body comps. If I feel like I nailed it with my macros, okay, then I might just kind of ease up. But good question. The first couple of weeks, I'm going to chart everything. I'm going to add up my calories. I'm going to add up my protein, carbs, and fat. I'm usually going to do my body comp. I'm about 182 pounds lean body mass. I weigh about 216. So I'm really going to target getting about 180 grams of protein pulse through the day. And I will kind of do some carbohydrate, patterning, some days higher, some days lower. So it's all different. And every year it's interesting. I'll be 53. My body changes. So what worked 3 years ago, it might not work for me today.
Interesting. And then with your carbohydrate or with your calorie consumption, do you ever go so low calorie where you're hungry throughout the day, or you try to have just enough so you feel satiated?
Yeah, I never try to get hungry, especially if I'm working, because if I'm hungry and working, it's not good for the client or the staff or me.
Yeah.
I'll get hangry.
Get hangry,
But, this year, the first year, I'll probably be incorporating some exogenous ketones. So you don't really get hungry on those. So it's kind of a secret weapon. If I do need to drop my calories, and I think you can do that from time to time, maybe 2 days a week, to help get that extra fat loss. It's not gonna, it doesn't pain you at all. You don't feel the actual cravings when you got the therapeutic exogenous ketones.
And do you mix that in your coffee?
Sometimes I do. They do make a keto cream,
Yep.
but typically I'm gonna put it mid-morning, mid-afternoon. I'm just gonna drink my ketones.
Got it. People want to get more information about the Keto OS. Do you have a site with that info on it?
Yeah, at my site, which is nutritiontreatmentcenter.com, there's a site, and I believe I have a thing. At the end, I'll get it myself.
Yeah.
I think it's shopketontc.com, but I'll get the exact email or site for you. But yeah, and there's something called a 5-day experience pack. If you're interested, we can mail you out a 5-pack and see if you're noticing what most people notice, which is simply this: a direct improvement in mental focus and clarity, and an unlimited flow of energy, and significant appetite control. And that's what you'll notice with the ketones.
Yeah, I like it too because you don't have to go low calorie to get there, right? There's nutritional ketosis and then there's starvation ketosis, right? So you can get there whether it's with like the beta hydroxybutyrate ketones
Yeah.
or with high dose MCT. They're great ways to get your ketones up. And do you measure them at all?
I sure do. I actually don't even do the urine anymore because urine is not that accurate. I use the ketonics meter. I use
Okay.
the breath meter. And when I chose a ketogenic product to drink, exogenous ketones, I actually did the research and then bought them and determined which one raised my ketone levels the most. Because we're all walking around with some ketones, right? Maybe
Yeah.
0.3 millimolar. You got to
Yeah.
get to like 1.0 to 1.5 to be in a therapeutic ketones to feel the benefit from a central nervous system standpoint. And one dose of the Keto OS typically raises you 0.5. And that's
Yep.
going to usually put you in that sweet spot. So to answer your question, absolutely. I love the ketonics breath meter. Super convenient. Not quite as accurate as the blood droplets. But you know me, Josh, you know me. I'm a quick
Yeah.
guy. I'm from Jersey.
Yeah.
I like to get things done
Fast
fast. So I don't have the time, or I do have the time, but I prefer not to do the blood droplet and wait. So I just blow into the meter. Within 2 minutes, I get data.
It's not quantitative, right? It more gives you a color and tells you what zone you're
Exactly.
in.
Blue, yellow, green, and red indicating ketoacidosis, which probably never
Yeah.
happen on the
No.
therapeutic ketones.
No.
But right, so you're not going to get like a 1.3 millimolar readout,
Yeah.
but you do know, and you can feel it, as long as you get into the yellow, which is trace, and blue, which is moderate,
Yeah.
you're measuring acetone in
Yeah.
the breath, which is an indication, direct correlation with beta hydroxybutyrate in the blood.
Exactly. And here's the other meter I use, the Precision Extra by Abbott. They
That's
do a
the
good
best.
one. Yeah.
That's
This
the
is a good
best
one.
for
Yes.
sure.
And I find like in the morning I sit between 0.5 and 1 on the millimoles and I feel phenomenal with that. And I agree with the Keto OS. I've seen it. I've done experiments and videos where I can get it to pop up 0.3 to 0.5
Yeah.
millimoles.
Exactly. And people like Tim Ferriss,
Yep.
he actually will only write and do a lot of his work when his ketone levels in his blood are a certain point, because he knows that's the most efficient time for him.
Absolutely. And if you have damage, neurological damage, whether it's Parkinson's or severe insulin resistance, you're going to have to do synthetic extra ketones as well because the brain and the neurology is dysfunctional or maybe even destroyed. Maybe there's lesions
Sure.
in the brain and those fuel centers aren't quite ready to pick up glucose anymore. So that's where it's
Yeah.
really important, especially the Alzheimer's data is quite compelling.
Yeah, I think we're really scratching the surface right now on the therapeutic benefit of ketones for neurodegeneration and neurodegenerative disease. But, of course, the whole ketone thing started years ago with seizures. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. There is a lot to it. And I think the research is going to grow stronger. And oftentimes, the first time that you get your ketones at a certain place like 1.0, something happens in your brain. It's
Yeah.
like, to me, it's the biggest nutritional breakthrough since creatine monohydrate times 100.
Yeah, I agree. And I was looking at Mayo Clinic in 1910, 1915, unreal, over 100 years ago, they were using ketogenic diets for epilepsy. It's
Absolutely.
crazy. And the
Yeah.
thing is, I see kids with epilepsy, they aren't even told about a ketogenic diet by their conventional medicine. This stuff's been in the medical journals for over 100 years. And folks, frankly, your medical doctors aren't educated in nutrition. So you really have to understand where their specialty is, which is trauma and acute care medicine. But outside of that, you really got to see a functional nutritionist.
100%, man. And that's why, I'm all about, thank you. I'm all about helping as many doctors
Yep.
increase their practice profitability and really their productivity, capacity, and skill to see more people through my Legends Club. So we can help more people. Hey, we were at seminars together,
Yeah.
and the stat was like this, is that, there's 100 million people in this country who need functional medicine. And there's only like 10,000 or 20,000 practitioners max that do what we do. No, it's not even that. I'm sorry. It's like 20,000 patients for every one functional medicine, functional nutrition doctor. We can't handle all this. And the problem at most functional medicine doctors are only seeing 7 patients a day. This is from the IFM report, okay? Tom Blue did the research, 7.2 patients a day, okay?
That's it.
You're not going to change the world seeing 20 patients a week. But we know that nutritional medicine, functional medicine is here. It works. It gets to the root cause, and it changes lives.
Love it. Love it. Now, you did a post on Facebook a few months ago, and I loved it. It was like your top 7 ways to build muscle or get back in shape. I may be putting you on the spot right now. We can pull up your Facebook and reference it if we need to. But do you remember those top 7 things?
Yeah, well, basically, I did a book with Sean Phillips years ago, and Sean Phillips started from the EAS camp. Okay, so was it on building muscle or getting lean, or both?
I think it was both, but you talked about carbohydrates. You talked about post-workout and pre-workout nutrition, and I want to pick your brain on that too, because I know you have that dialed in.
So interesting, as much as we talk about therapeutic ketones, there's still something to nutritional timing. And for my young athletes, high school and college, who are looking to increase lean body mass and performance, there's still something about pre-exercise snack, protein and carbs, and then during the workout, drinking a glucose electrolyte solution with some branch chains, and then post-workout within 30 to 45 minutes, getting a carbohydrate protein drink with a certain ratio to actually promote an insulin spike with the right amount of leucine and branch chains to evoke protein synthesis, okay? So that's really what I was probably talking about in that post, is that don't still underestimate the value of nutrient timing as taught, or the research was done at Baylor University years ago. The research there was 4-to-1 ratio of carb to protein for aerobic cyclists.
Aerobic, yeah.
That was aerobic, but even if you're anaerobic football player, soccer player, I dial that in, maybe 2-to-1 or 2.5-to-1 carb to protein post-workout. All depends on how lean the athlete is to make sure that you are actually, kind of getting the chemistry right to quench cortisol, and you quench cortisol by increasing insulin, right? Cortisol, insulin, or indirect. So you can start bringing cortisol levels down by spiking insulin. And insulin is still the most anabolic hormone in the body.
It is.
And as long as you have the essential amino acids like leucine, you're going to actually turn on the mTOR pathway, which is how you actually make protein in the body or make muscle. So that was at that post. So it was about getting the right amount of calories, frequent feeding, make sure you're actually burning more calories a day than you actually burn. Okay, so that's again for that person whose sole purpose is increase lean body mass, coming from a bodybuilding background, and as a former Jets nutritionist, New York Jets nutritionist years ago. Yeah, so these are things that we had to apply for these athletes.
That's great. So kind of Reader's Digest version, what does the best pre-workout nutrition look like? Do you add creatine in there, branch chain aminos during or after or before?
Good. So let's just start with the macros. I like to get usually about 20 to 35 grams of carbs, and you can use something like applesauce.
Okay.
And about 10 grams of protein, like a half a scoop of protein powder. Some people do an orange and a hard-boiled egg. Okay. Now, quite frankly, if you want to talk to me, the best pre-exercise, it's Generation UCAN. Okay, so Generation UCAN is a super starch, which is a proprietary product that is the slowest releasing carbohydrate you can get. You can put some protein with that. So 30 minutes before, you want to top off glycogen levels, get some carbs in there with some protein, and then during the workout, you're consuming protein and carbs during the workout. So you're raising glycogen, raising glucose, and you're putting amino acids in your body. So while you're training, you're almost like recovering as you're exercising, because exercise is catabolic. Yeah. Recovery is anabolic. Catabolic means your body's breaking down. Yeah. So you want to actually have a pool of amino acids and carbs to draw from, so you're not depleting glycogen and your amino acid reserves.
So what kind of protein powder during the workout? Is that a branch chain amino? Is it whey protein and a BCAA?
Yep. That's a good question. You can do any of those, man. I mean, easiest is branch chain amino acids, usually with a 2-to-1 ratio, leucine being 2, and then valine isoleucine.
Yes.
You could simply do something easy. You can do a product and put I use product Endora, or you can do many different products and just put like a little bit of whey protein there and drink it like a creamsicle. Okay.
And how much branch chain aminos? Are you at 20 grams?
No, during the workout, you just need about 6 grams, 4 to 6 grams during the workout with approximately 25 grams of carbs. Depends on the size of the athlete, but as a general rule, during the workout, 25 to 30 grams of carbs and about 6 grams of protein, or ideally 4 to 6 grams of branch chains. Now, for example, whey protein is a really great protein for building muscle because it's 11% leucine. Whey has the highest amount of branch chains in leucine, which
No
is why
way.
yeah, which is why, why whey protein is like the gold standard. And when I teach my staff or my health coaches, like, what's the most important amino acid for protein building? It's leucine. Remember, I love leucine. Hello? All right. So the point is that it's actually probably better to actually just do the straight branch chains.
Mhm.
But as long as you're, getting pre-exercise, while you're training, you're consuming water and a glucose electrolyte solution. And what do I mean by that? Some sort of carbohydrate. The one I use is glucose polymers and a crystalline fructose with sodium chloride, magnesium glycinate. So you're getting glucose, electrolytes, and branch chains, or essential amino acids. And then post-workout, top it off, start the recovery process with a post-workout shake.
That's great. And a post-workout shake could be any, like, let's say 30 or 40 grams of whey protein's fine?
Yeah, at least 20.
I know
Research shows at least.
Pollock was doing a lot of the Cytomax, like a lot of the
Yeah,
corn sugar
use
athletes.
Cytomax. I was watching a quick video from the Society of Weight Training Injury Specialists that's up in Toronto. I speak there every year, or almost every year. And Daryl Willoughby, I think his name is, he's one of the authors of the Sports Nutrition book. Research is showing a minimum of about 3 grams of leucine necessary to start, protein synthesis. So if you're doing 20 grams of whey protein, that's like 2.2 grams of leucine. So why don't you just bump that up to about 30 to ensure about 3 grams of leucine? I'm talking for a guy here. For a woman, it might be a little bit less, but post-workout, 30 grams of protein. Then you say, well, Tom, how many carbs? All depends on the individual, depends on the sport. Might be 30 grams of carbs, might be 120 grams of carbs post-workout.
Got it. So you're doing maybe a half a scoop pre, then you do a protein / some BCAAs during, and then you have another post shake right after the workout.
Yes, just one correction there. During, it's BCAAs and glucose electrolyte solution.
Got it. No amino
Okay,
acids.
so you're getting carbs and protein each time, pre, during, and post.
And where does creatine fit in there?
Yeah, creatine, again, love creatine. Certainly before and after is an excellent time to take creatine. So after we talk about the macros, and I'm working with a high school athlete, and I work with some of the best high school and college athletes in the country, we get that down. But creatine is not just for building muscle. It's certainly for recovery and explosive power, okay? So I like to do creatine before and after a workout.
How many grams?
Yeah, it depends on the size of the athlete, but as a general rule, around 10 grams a day if you say a 150-pound male athlete. And of course, the research shows that if you do a load phase, you can saturate your cells with some creatine. And I do believe a load phase works. I used to do a load phase in my bodybuilding days, and that could go up to 25 to 35 grams of creatine for 5 to 7 days. So I've seen good results of that, especially with powerlifters and bodybuilders. But as a general rule, using creatine, 5 to 10 grams, more toward 10 grams a day, 10 grams when you work out, 5 grams a day when you don't work out, is a good fundamental protocol for creatine.
That's great. And the major benefits is you're giving extra fuel source for the muscles for those high intense movements, but also doesn't it increase growth hormone too?
They say, yeah, a lot of benefits. I don't know the exact research on that, but I believe that is true. You're certainly getting a new fuel source. And, creatine gets into the muscle, and there's a cell volumizing effect where water will then follow creatine.
Yes.
Then the muscle cell will actually be larger and better hydrated, which is less likely to go through a catabolic process. Okay?
Yes.
But you're actually using creatine as an energy source. The first 6 seconds of any explosive activity or running can be actually drawn from creatine even before you go into ATP.
Yes.
Right? So you can break down the creatine, it's a phosphokinase. So you can release, energy from the creatine phosphokinase. I guess it is, yeah. Phosphocreatine, I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And then go into your ATP and then run glycolysis. All right.
Love it.
So you're getting a fuel source that maybe wasn't there until you did exogenous creatine. Your body makes creatine, but I think the Russians and the Eastern Europeans showed 50, 75 years ago ago the benefit of creatine.
Love it. And are you doing like a crealkaline or a
Yeah.
monohydrate?
I always recommend a crealkaline, a buffered creatine. You
Yeah.
tend to need less, and it's easier on the digestive tract.
Love it. See, these are all actionable bits of information. You're not going to hear this anywhere else, folks. Love it.
Ah,
Very
thanks.
cool. So we
Yeah.
got the performance nutrition aspect. What are the key movement patterns you're doing in? Because you got 30-minute exercises. I love that. It's efficient. It's practical. What are the movements patterns that you're doing?
Okay, good. Good question. So I'm trying to get 2 to 3 days of cardio or 2 to 3 days of weights. I never do cardio and weights in the same day. Yes, I'll do a warm up, and yes, I spend a lot of time rolling and stretching. So as I get older, I realize you need everything. But if I'm doing a weight training, I oftentimes will do a 4-4-4 program, something I kind of came up with, which is 4 sets per body part. And this is what you read too, 4 sets per body part. So if I'm doing chest, it might be 2 sets of a bench press and 2 sets of, say, flies. Now, that's after a warm-up set or 2. A lot of people are doing 8, 10, 12, 14 sets for a body part. I've seen people do 30 sets. It's ridiculous. But the 4-4-4 is a 4-second concentric. That's where your muscle is shortening. Okay? So if you're doing a bicep curl, when your hand comes up to your shoulder, that's concentric. And then eccentric is the opposite, when you're going down against gravity. If you're doing a 4-second concentric and a 4-second eccentric, that's a lot of time of tension on the muscle. That's time of tension training. You have to use about 30% less weight, easy on the joints, 4 seconds up, 4 seconds down, 4 sets per body part, you're done.
I love it. And isn't that also known as lactic acid training as well?
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly lactic acid training, but we do know that lactic acid training is highly effective at getting lean. But I think there's some crossover there. I just know this is more time of tension training. We know that on an eccentric contraction, you're breaking down more muscle. Now, this is for hypertrophy, Justin. This would not be for like a college football player looking to get faster. Okay, This is for hypertrophy training, and hypertrophy means getting the muscles bigger,
larger,
but using free weight or dumbbells, easy on the joints, and you're getting an improvement in insulin sensitivity. Okay, you're actually getting muscle isolation, because a lot of people in the gym, when they're training, they're just using momentum. They're just throwing the weight up and then letting it drop down. If I put an EMG on the muscle, man, it's not an 8-second contraction. It's maybe 0.5 second.
Right.
So you can get done in 4 sets what some of these people are doing in 16 sets.
Love it. So we got the 4-4-4. That was a question I actually texted you. Thanks for answering that. That's great.
Yeah, you got it.
And then what are some of the other movements? Are you doing like squats? Are you doing deadlifts, lunges?
Yep, I'm squatting usually every week still. I don't go up real high anymore. I used to go up high. Believe it or not, once I did 315 for 29 reps.
Holy God. Oh my
It's crazy.
God.
It's 27 actually. No, 37. I was sore for 2 weeks. It was a contest against my friend, but that's another story. I'll now go up to 225, maybe 245, 50, but I'm going very slow and controlled. All right. So I'm squatting usually twice a month. The other 2 days a month, I might be doing trap bar deadlifts. So I'm in there and I'm being very controlled. So I'm not putting a lot of load on my spine anymore. And I only will load up my spine maybe 2 times a month and barely go above 240, 250. All right. Where I used to do a lot more in my bodybuilding days. But I do believe there's something very important and special about the squat. And I only go as low as my body takes me. I think it's ridiculous going, you got to get your butt down to your feet. Not at 52, man. I stretch and I try to get, if I get to parallel, great. If I'm just shy of parallel, so what? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to stress my joints and my biomechanics because the trainer next to me, 30 years old, going, get your butt to the ground. That's ridiculous. So I'm still doing compound movements. I benched yesterday. So I'm doing maybe 2 to 4 sets of bench, trap bar deadlifts. I'm doing barbell squats. That's what I'm doing.
Now, what's your take on back squats versus front squats?
Good question. I used to do front squats. I don't anymore because they're too dang hard.
Yeah.
But I think there's some benefit to front squats. A lot of the CrossFitters are doing front squats. Again, I think the risk does not outweigh the benefit for some people with that, with respect to the stability. Because what is the first rule of exercise, Dr. Justin? Don't get hurt.
Right.
That's the first rule of exercise. Second rule is progressive and variable. I don't think most people need to do front squats unless you're going a CrossFit Games or front squat competition. Does it change the forces and activate different muscles? Of course it does. But to me, I like the stability of the barbell on my back, below my traps, where I feel real stable. I can engage my core, I can contract my lats, and I can go up and down slowly. So for me, I like the back squat.
Yeah, plus the big thing with the front squat is you start to get fatigued in the upper arms before
Yeah.
your glute and your legs get tired.
Yeah, and if we look at basic primal motions, if you had to put something lifted up, you would never put it in front. You would put it on your back.
You
Okay,
literally put it over your back and you'd hold it that
you would
way.
put it over your back. Paul Chek would say that, right?
Yeah.
So you would put it over your back. That would be more of a primal movement pattern than putting it in the front. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, it's all about the person's goal. And if there's, they feel better with the front than the back, then maybe that works for them. But I like the back squats.
Love it. Dude, I'm ready to go to the gym right now and work out, man. I'm
Yeah.
pumped. Love it.
Yeah.
So let's transition back to functional medicine, because you do a lot of different lab tests. What are your favorite lab tests and why for your patients coming in?
Well, good question. What I do, and this is kind of cool, I started doing this about a month ago. A lot of my clients are coming to me with fatigue and weight loss resistance, right? So when I'm looking at my functional chemistry, I now take a red dot. And every time there's a marker like low ferritin, like high C-reactive protein, low vitamin D, low free T3, high homocysteine, okay? I'm putting a red dot right there, and on that red dot, a little sticker, I'll put fat burn and put an X through it. I'm saying, Mrs. Jones, you did not have a chance of burning any fat or having good energy because I'm looking at your labs. So I'll actually at the end go, and you had 5 or 6 crucial indications on your blood chemistry why you're fatigued and you can't burn fat. They inevitably say, well, why didn't my doctor tell me this? And I usually take the high road now, Justin. I'm 52. When I was 24 doing this, I didn't take the high road, and I would just kind of say, well, doesn't matter what I said. Now I'm like, listen, if we're doing specialized tests, if you're not asking the right questions, you won't get the right answers. Or sometimes I'll say, your doctor is running antiquated blood work, or he or she doesn't know how to interpret them if I need to go there. But the point is, I just named some things that are very important markers on blood chemistry that are crucial for longevity, fat burning, etc. All right. So I think that's my best answer.
Love it. Love it. Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
outside of that, I mean, kind of wrapping up here, is there anything else you wanted to address or kind of bring to the listeners' attention that we haven't already addressed so far?
Yeah, well, a little plug if you don't mind. My passion is to help as many people as I can live a healthier, more productive life. That's my mission, my nutrition treatment center practice mission. But my other mission now is to help end the drug era in our lifetime. And, I want to help as many practitioners as I can be successful. That means more profitable, and have a mission to help as many people as they can. And that's my Legends Club. And drtombilella.com. That's BILELLA.com. If you want more information on Legends Club, just shoot me an email. We'll get on the phone for 15 minutes. I explain my program. It's super cost effective. Every 2 weeks, we do a module. We do a live strategy call every 2 weeks. It's a 20-week program, and it's the fundamentals, the essentials of business in your practice. So a little plug there, because I think united we're better. And if someone wants to try the ketones, I got the site here. It's ntc.shopketo.com.
We'll put all the links below.
Perfect.
So anyone listening, just click it. It'll be right there for you.
Yeah. So that's really it, man. And I want to just recognize and appreciate your work. We met at some seminars. I was impressed with you the first day I met you with your knowledge and what you're doing. I encourage people to go on your website and just keep tapping into what you're doing. You're actually pretty darn young, Justin, but you're a leader in functional medicine, and this podcast is an example of that.
Well, I appreciate that. And also, are you seeing patients virtually at all?
Not yet. I'm just starting now, believe it or not. I'm actually doing something called an MRT macro program where people can actually get on my site and get a food sensitivity test, and then we get them. They can be anywhere in Iowa or wherever. We do the food sensitivity test. I get them the phone and I help them dial in their macros. But I am starting to do more Zoom and Skype because I'm having patients travel all over. So it's not a big component of my practice. If someone is interested in an MRT macro program, which is like, hey, Tom, let's figure out how I should be eating, they can go on nutritiontreatmentcenter.com, hit the shop button, boom, we'll send you an MRT kit. That's a food sensitivity kit. We get on the phone for a couple times, or we Zoom or Skype, and I go, listen, let's dial in your program.
Love it. Love it. That makes so much sense. All right,
Yeah.
Last question here. You're stuck on a desert island. You can only bring one supplement with you. What is it?
Justin, I like the question. And most everyone says, vitamin D. But if I'm on an island, I hope I'm getting some sun. I'm going to bring a B complex, man. Because B vitamins, so important for your Krebs cycle. I want to make sure I'm making ATP, and I don't want any micronutrient deficiency. And there's a lot of other benefits of B vitamins. You're just making sure as cofactors on your Krebs cycle. So I'm going to probably bring my B vitamins, but a close second is going to be my keto OS. Because if I get some ketones floating in my blood, maybe I can have enough energy to swim off the island and get to the mainland.
Yeah. Plus, if there are any coconuts on the island, you can always eat that coconut meat. That'll give you a lot of MCT.
Right. So I used to say B vitamins, but now I might have to say the fourth macronutrient, which is my keto OS, to give me enough fuel to do what I need to do, fight the cannibals and go up the mountain and make a hammock like Gilligan.
I love it. Very cool. And then what's your website again, Dr. Tom?
Yeah, nutritiontreatmentcenter.com, all one word. And for Legends Club, it's drtombilella.com. If you want to get my newsletters, I do What's Ticking Off Dr. Tom a lot. You can watch the Sophia Bilella videos. They're really entertaining. We get a point across. And the last one is ntc.shopketo.com. You'll have the links there. But I really appreciate this platform. I had a good time.
Awesome, Dr. Tom. Well, I appreciate you. Your inspiration to myself, being at your age with your energy and your health and just kind of overall presence with how much, muscle and how just overall good shape you're in. I love it. I really appreciate it. It gives a good kind of bullseye to attain when I'm there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Tom. You have a great day.
You too.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.